Hey Ranger Nation, welcome back to another episode. Today we're looking at Power Rangers Dino Fury, episode 16, Ancient History. And oh my god, is this one fantastic episode. So let's begin. So the whole episode opens up with the Gold Ranger jumping in and looking about, saying that he's returned, his old friend's still there, basically the stone dinosaurs are there. And I was like, okay, cool, they've literally tested this a whole of time and no one's ever looked at them properly. Oh well. So it's kind of nice seeing this, that the kind of a little bit of throwback to it. So the Gold Ranger enters the base and literally says like, oh hey everyone, how you doing, what you have been up to, you're the new Rangers, and then looks at Zato and goes, Zato. And that's it. And you know that there's some beef. Like Zato's like, oh my god, like his name is Ion or Ion. So Ion's gonna be the thing. So he sees Ion, he's like, oh hey, how you doing? And literally Ion's really like, no. He takes Ollie's sandwich. So take that, Ollie. Take that. Anything back from the episode that you had previously, you were that annoying, let's say that. You get kind of a lot of flashbacks. What has Ion been doing for all this time? Where has, like, you know, what happened down Rafcon? And I kind of really like this one because, you know, when Zato says, like, how did you survive? We see stuff going on, which is like the flashback where they're in the Megazord, this Ultrazord, and they're just ripping through bad guys and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, is that how the Grand Canyon was kind of formed? But the amount of damage. Now, I feel like if this is set in the time where, you know, in the city where they are normally, there would have been that much damage, regardless of how many millions of years, like the ground wouldn't have formed from that much of a blast. And if it did, dear God. But I would have loved to have seen some sort of stuff happen in the city where they are at the moment to be like, oh God, like, don't go there, that's a cavern. You know, they could show it a little bit more, like they did in Beast Morphers when they saw a massive hole and they're like, oh well, that's there. So I kind of think that you could have had that to kind of showcase a lot of stuff. That to me would have made it kind of absolutely like amazing. Now I didn't recognize the Ultrazord. We've not had it. I've not seen it in Rear Soldier. So if you know if this was from the movie or if this was from the TV show, let me know down below in the comments. So as Zato and Ion get kind of separated, split, Ion goes into obviously the ocean, the sea where they are, and kind of goes into a cryostasis. And one thing I loved is they've got the green morphing master. Now I think I would have had a morphing master of like the 6th Ranger because that would have been easy, where they were able to kind of freeze them. So the Green Ranger does this and puts them in stasis, but says something very interesting, like, you know, you've got to save the world from Lord Zed. Which I was like, is Lord Zed millions of years old? This can't be a thing where they've seen everything through space and time. So when they mention it's Lord Zed's here, so it made me think, is literally Lord Zed from like 65 million years ago? Where was he nasty? Like, I generally didn't think he was that old, but if he was, dear God. But I loved that kind of like callback to it. Made me kind of go, do you know what? You're paying attention, writers. Now, when they mention Lord Zed again, it feels like it's been a while, or they were like, oh, he's not been around for like many years. So when I'm watching this back again, I was like, okay, no, they kind of explain it. So the way that I interpret it is that they have fought Lord Zed. It was a while ago, maybe 2 weeks, but they mention it. But I'm just so glad that they're kind of throwing in these kind of Easter eggs. So we get more of a flashback, and it basically shows you Ion and Zato kind of like training and stuff like that, which I kind of liked. I kind of thought they would both be knights on Rancor. Rafcon. Why does that say Rancor? I don't know. That's from Star Wars. But on Rafcon, you know, the training. And it's what's interesting is Zato's dark secret, which I generally thought would be something like, oh, he stubbed his toe and said a bad word, or it'd be something really random, which I wasn't a big fan of. They actually say like it was the Rafconians that actually created the Sporax and unleashed them, but the way that you hear about it is like, hey, you know, this is from, they're meant to help, they're meant to like fight alongside us if we need them, but no, they've gone against it. And I kind of want to say it's a little bit political. It's like, oh, I wouldn't say political, but it's one of those things that you see in movies where it's like, yeah, deploy them now. We're not ready. They're not fully tested. oh no, we'll just release them anyway and then hope for the best. So when seeing this, I was just like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. But I like the fact that Zato is like, no, yeah, this was a bit shit, so sorry. And he just went, yeah, the council is completely fine with this. We are okay, ready to go. And I was like, ooh. But I love the fact that Ion's like, nope, going to go in and I'm going to try and defeat you. But everyone kind of like steps in, and you see the destruction. You see that the fact they've grown monsters, and I generally really loved like this callback. I would kind of like to see a bit more, like if the Rangers went back in time and helped out. I think that would be kind of awesome. Now, jumping all the way back, I love the fact that the Rangers escaped the Megazord being destroyed, and you heard more of the voices and stuff like that of those actual Rangers, which it'd be kind of cool if it was the voice actors now, and then they did an episode where they jumped all the way back in time and they had to relive that. I think it was kind of cool. Kind of reminds me also of like the Thundercats, where Thundera is blowing up and they're leaving. It kind of reminded me of that now that I kind of think about it. The Rangers, a bit annoyed, they then go downtown because there is a Sporax and it's Mucus, and Mucus is packing heat. I didn't realize she had the harpoon gun. And Zato, I think, is kind of more like, hey, I want to show you that I'm the leader. Because Ion has actually turned around and said, like, I want to take the leadership. You are not fit to lead the Rangers after what you did millions and millions of years ago. And Mucus just fires harpoons and pins Zato to the wall. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It's very weird seeing the spandex suit kind of being stretched out there. That's something you don't normally see. I think this is the first time you've ever seen that. And this entire fight, Ion nails it. He is perfect. He knows exactly what to do. He knows exactly where to go, and he does amazing stuff. Now, one thing that did annoy me is that the Rangers see that there's fish oil all over the place, and with this, it's like they go, like, oh, we can easily step there, but you've just seen Zato just kind of being pinned against the wall, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. So everyone kind of doesn't really look at what they're doing, and I'm like, wow, okay guys, seriously, you need to figure this one out. Pretty much, very simply, Zato decides that he wants to kind of like step down from this because he thinks that Ion would be more suited to kind of lead the team. But then when he talks to Solaron, he says like, yeah, like, you know, she goes, you got to do this, like, you know, you do what's best. We then jump to the bad guy's base, where we find that Mucus is annoying the shit out of me. It generally irritates me, that sort of mentality. They have a new bad guy called Wreckmate, which I generally really love the name and thought that that bad guy should stick about. He is obviously going to find the Gold Ranger Zord, which obviously we find out. They go downtown, but the Rangers find where the Gold Ranger Zord is, and it's underwater, it's not moving, so therefore the Rangers need to go find it. They find out that the Sporax is going downtown, they go down. Mucus is annoying the shit out of me because it's just basically like, we've got to buy stuff for a day at the beach, which you kind of think, go find the Zord, that's more important than like being relaxed in a pool. It doesn't make sense. It kind of really infuriates me. Like, Mucus is a character that you kind of like or dislike. I'm not liking Mucus at the moment. We have like a full team morph. They go at it, they use power-ups, mainly Zato and Ion. They use electricity as well as the flame keys, and then they go and have a fight. This is when Wreckmate grows giant and actually becomes a massive monster to destroy the Rangers. He actually does amazing. Like, this is the first time that you see that the Megazord gets beaten, and it's not just like a 1-2. So it reminded me back of the days of Power Rangers where we first saw at the end of the Thunderzords. I just generally really liked it. The Rangers then escape because they know that they can't fight. The seawater is going to corrode and actually shut down the Megazord straight away. So they abandon ship. Zato, because in this part, what Ion doesn't know what to do. So he's like, oh, we could fight. No, I don't know what to do. Thus, therefore, gives the command back to like Zato and says like, what do you do? He explains everything and says, this is what I do. We're leaving the Megazord. We're going on to fight. There's another way that we can get around this. And as they're kind of talking about this on shore, the Zord for Ion like picks up and attacks Wreckmate, which I'm like, oh, I really like this guy. It felt like he could have been around. Zato and Ion jump into the Megazord. They form a new one, which I've written down is called the Mullazar Megazord. the Multazor Megazord. I don't know how to say it. If you know, let me know down below in the comments. But you know what you should be doing while you're down there. You should be literally subscribing to the channel, as well as turning on notifications and giving this video a like, because it helps the video grow. Anyway, so when seeing this Megazord fight, it reminded me of underwater, and we don't ever get underwater fights anymore. The last one that I remember personally was the one in Zeo, but if you know that there's any more underwater fights, let me know down below in those comments. So at the very end, Zato and Ion kind of like, they make up, they do the normal thing and say, hey, we're friends. Ion gives the team back to Zato, and I would have been like, no, you're new, I'm not going to do that. But they become friends, they train, they get kind of like friendly, and that is particularly it. So that's kind of the rundown of the episode. Now my thoughts on this. I love the fact that the Morphing Masters come back. They saved Ion for it. They said like Lord Zed's going to be there, and they reference that Lord Zed is millions of years old, which I absolutely loved. I love that kind of callback. I would have loved it if they said like Rita and Lord Zed, because that would have been kind of cool. But obviously Lord Zed is in the episode, so he's in this season, so I understand that one. But it could have been like the forces of evil, you are the key to this, to destroying it. And I'm like, do you know what? Cool. So maybe we're going to get some action where Lord Zed comes back, and it's going to be very interesting. I loved all the stuff with the flashbacks. That to me was something that I generally really enjoyed. And I love that. I want to see more, because it felt like the story's progressing. The story is there, and it is absolutely fantastic. So please, can we have more of that coming up? And I would love the fact if they went back in time to that episode, like to that time where they're inside the Megazord and they realize that time has to happen. It would be absolutely fantastic. I've also written down that Ion's fight is, I want to call him Aeon. Ion's fight is it's refreshing. His way that he was fighting in this episode, I really liked. I was generally like, I kind of want to see more. So I'm looking forward to more episodes with him popping up. And again, it was just kind of refreshing and seeing a whole different take on it. Megazord's being trashed. I absolutely love that. Want to see more of it, and I feel like we don't. It's always the Megazords up there. It's always number one. But I want it to be beaten. I want it to be trashed, destroyed, falling apart. That's what I want to see in this series. So I'm hoping that we're going to get more of it. And then obviously this episode is fantastic and actually worth watching. It's, I think, going to be one of my favorites in this series so far, maybe in the entire franchise. It's a really good episode. It has the right amount of balance. I didn't like Mucus in this. I thought that was just the one that got to me a little bit more. But apart from that, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really good episode. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like this episode or do you not? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit subscribe, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。